Welcome everyone to Morning Flow. We're calling it Swan Flow this morning. We'll focus on external rotation of the hip in the various swan poses. My name is Mark Cormier. Thank you for joining me. My student this morning will be Kathy Cormier. And 1 minute? Okay. So I'll start class and then Kathy will jump in. So I invite you to come to the top of your yoga space. We'll start standing. As we stand, either working a narrow stance to challenge your balance, also an excellent way to connect with your core, or we could work a wider stance for more foundation, and that's a great way to connect with the ground. As we stand, from our feet finding our legs, from our legs finding our spine, relax shoulders tall through the crown. A slight tuck of the chin without shortening the neck as we bring our hands to our heart. A light press of our thumb against our sternum as we line up each finger. Starting our practice this morning, just watching as our breath flows in and as our breath flows out. Like watching the ocean as the waves wash in and out. To this observation of the breath, I'll invite you to find a shape to your breath as you shape a long, slow inhalation, followed by a long, slow exhalation. As you breathe in, I'll invite you to find a full body breath, bringing the air to the top of your chest, the base of your belly, filling up each side waist, filling up both front and back planes of your body. As you breathe out, I'll encourage you to draw the low belly in and up, also concurrently lifting the kidneys in and up, like squeezing a tube of toothpaste from all sides. More importantly, providing structural support for our low back with that abdominal engagement. To this deeper, fuller breath, moving towards the Ujjayi or ocean breath, a slight constriction of the base of the throat, sounding even more like the waves of the ocean as they wash in and out. And as we flow through our practice this morning, letting this Ujjayi breath be a focus for your practice. Last two details before we start to attach breath to movement, and we'll welcome Kathy onto the screen. Tip of the tongue to the hard palate just behind the teeth, hard to see, hard to demonstrate, but keeping that tongue to hard palate connection, that tongue loop throughout the practice, keeping our jaws relaxed and connecting front and back planes of our bodies. And finally, with your lips closed, adding a slight smile to your face, opening up the front of your throat so your breath has lots of room to circulate, refresh, and revitalize. Keeping all this, lifting the chin if you closed your eyes, opening your eyes, hands by your side. Let me welcome Kathy onto the stage. How are you this morning, Kathy? Excellent. So I called it Swan Flow, so that would be one focus. Is there another focus you'd like to add?
I've had some tightness in my neck and shoulders.
Okay.
Probably because I'm back to work on a screen a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's the situation with many of us. So let's throw in some neck and shoulder work in addition to our external rotation of the hip work. Cool. So we've done all the preliminaries. Time to start moving. Hands by our side. We'll inhale the arms up and over the head. Exhaling, hands back down. Inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, arms down. No need to rush. One more time. Breathing, arms up, just feeling the movement. Exhaling, arms back down. Starting a forward fold and a back bend. Inhaling, arms up, half sun sail. Exhaling, finding your forward fold. Take a breath to arc the back as you lift chin and tail. Hands might find the kneecaps. On the exhale, catching the back of the calves as you fold again. Inhaling, moving towards a flat back, hinging at the hips, arms up and over the head. Exhaling, standing tall. Two more times like this, half sun sail. Inhaling up. Exhaling over. Take a breath to find length. Exhaling, arching the back as you fold again. So really feeling the undulations of the spine Inhaling, moving towards the flat back, arms up and over the head. Exhaling, standing tall. One more to go here. Breathing in, lifting up. Exhaling, folding. Take a breath to find length as we lift chin and tail. On the exhale, keeping that length as we round the spine. Inhaling, moving towards a flat back, arms out to the side and then overhead. Exhaling, standing tall. Sun Salutation A, this first one I will not cue vinyasa. And you may go sideways for the demo on the down dog, Kathy. Inhaling up. Exhaling over. Take a breath to find length. And then on the exhale, grounding on down and finding your down dog. At home, stay just as you are. We're going to go sideways here just so you can see the shape a little better. As we hold this first down dog of our practice, I'll invite you to walk the dog as you bend one leg deeply, grounding down to the opposite heel. And then finding that stretch on the second side. And then freely moving back and forth between the sides. Just seeing how your body feels this morning. What feels tight, what feels right, what feels somewhere in between. Just luxuriating in your own physicality. It feels so good to have a body, to be awake, to have a new morning, to celebrate. From this place of movement, I'll invite you to move back towards stillness. Long arms, long legs, long spine, deep, full breath. And at a certain point, you might turn to face the lens. From our down dog shape, when you're ready.
I'm just straightening.
Yeah, I'll do the demo in here. So you're going to bend the knees ever so slightly. Tailbone gets a little bit higher. We find more space in the lumbar spine, the low back. And then looking between the hands, mindful of that neck. And then mindfully making your way to the front of your mat. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. On the exhale, folding again. Inhaling, moving towards a flat back, arms out to the side and then overhead. Exhaling, standing tall. Second one, much like the first, however, this time I will cue vinyasa. And again, feel free to go sideways if that works. Inhaling up. Exhaling over. Take a breath to find length. And then breathing out, grounding on down as you find vinyasa. And you could always skip this. Vinyasa classically is the yoga push-up chaturanga. Feel free to use the knees or not.
I'm just trying to get into the frame.
Yeah, don't worry too much about it. And either coming all the way down and finding your cobra, the hips stay down, or lifting the hips up for your up dog. And then from here, rolling over the toes. You could always use the knees or not as you find your down dog. And holding your down dog. 3 to 5, long, slow, deep, full breaths. As we hold down dog, I'll invite you to move your attention to the base of your throat. From that place, watching as your breath flows in and out, feeling very open in that throat chakra. From down dog, why don't you stay sideways, and then when you come to the front of your mat, you'll turn to face the lens. But I just want to demo this bending in the knees thing. Tail end of a breath, bending the knees ever so slightly. Tailbone goes a little higher. More space in that low back, you can feel it. Subtle level. And then looking between the hands, mindful of that neck as you step. Or maybe you take a jump front, or not. From this place, take a breath to arc the back as we lift chin and tail. On the exhale, rounding the spine as we fold again. Inhaling, moving towards a flat back, arms out to the side and then overhead. Exhaling, standing tall. Let's do one more Sun Salutation A, Surya Namaskar A. We'll throw a moving plank into the mix. Inhaling up. Exhaling over. Take a breath to find length. And then breathing out back to down dog as you will. Feeling free to either cycle through vinyasa or just stretch it straight back. Yogi's choice. And vinyasa just means connected movement through space. So there's lots of ways to move through space with grace. And again, just luxuriating in your own physicality. How good does it feel to have a body? Now from here, feeling free to hold whatever shape you're in. If you did want to play with the moving plank, on an inhale, finding your plank pose, shoulders over wrists. And then on an exhale, navel to spine as you lift the hips high, coming back to down dog. Breathing in, coming forward, finding your plank. On the exhale, back to down dog. Inhaling forward, finding your plank. I'll invite you to hold and testing out the integrity of our center and stretching out the fascia of the feet, I'll invite you to rock to the tips of the toes and then back to the base. Tips and base. One more time, tips and hold. Back to the base and hold. And then lifting hips high and back to down dog. From down dog, long, smooth breath in. Long, smooth breath out. Tail end of our breath, bending the knees ever so slightly, lifting the tailbone a little higher, more space in that low back, and then mindful of the neck as you look between the hands in either step, or maybe you take that jump front. Awesome. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. Hands cap the knees. Exhaling, catching the back of the calves as we fold. Inhaling, moving towards a flat back, arms out to the side and then overhead. On the exhale, standing tall. Sun Salutation A. We'll find that narrower stance. Big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Inhaling into your chair, knees over toes, hands overhead.
Oh, you said A. So you
I said
mean
A.
B.
I did mean B. Thank
Yes.
you. It helps to have help. Exhaling, taking it lower. On the inhale, rising on up, little back bend at the top. On the exhale, a big swan dive over. Take a breath to find length, and yeah, I like to have the hands cap the knees, but make sure your knees push into the hands as much as your hands push down on the knees. Exhaling, catching the back of the calves as you fold, attracting yourself deeper into the shape. From this place, grounding down through the hands and making your way back to down dog as you will. And take your time.
You understand when you tell me to take my time, I'm really going to take my time.
Awesome. And just so everyone that comes to my live classes, I always give people plenty of time to get there. So if there's someone dawdling, no big deal.
Oh, but that's...
Yeah, and dawdling, I know dawdling's a bad word, but it's like me on a hike. You don't want to leave anything in the dust. Flow style, big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Right leg high to the sky for the three-legged dog. High on the left toes.
Right.
Yeah, so you want to you really feel that nice stretch in the Achilles heel as you lift the heel. And now looking between the hands as you sweep that right foot through. Spinning the back heel down, arms up and over the head, finding your balance. Awesome, beautiful. And then from this place, spinning the palms out, finding your low lunge as you spin that back heel up, again working that Achilles tendon. And then back to down dog as you will. Deep full breaths. Right. Second side, big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Left leg high to the sky, high on the right toes. And I really love that little subtle move. It really stretches out that Achilles tendon. Yeah, I feel that. And then looking between the hands as you bring that foot on through, landing it lightly, finding your balance as you spin the back heel down. Take your time. And then arms up and over the head for your warrior one. And from your warrior one, finding your low lunge as you spin that back heel up. Again, a little more Achilles tendon work. And then back to down dog, as you will, either cycling through vinyasa or stretching straight back. In the second vinyasa, on a subtle level, you might even take slower than the first one, just because we're going to hang out in down dog for 5 or 6 breaths. And I know dawdling's a bad word, but if you were concerned about not being with the rest of the class, this is where you can catch up. Or they have to wait for you. And again, just fighting your breath. From down dog, long, smooth breath in. Long, smooth breath out. Tail end of that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly, lifting the tailbone a little higher, just feeling that nice space in the lumbar spine. And then looking between the hands as you step, or maybe jump front. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. On the exhale, folding again. On the inhale, finding your chair pose, knees over toes, hands overhead. Flow style, exhaling, taking it lower. On the inhale, rising on up, and then finding maybe a little back bend at the top, and then neutral spine, hands by your side. Let's do one more sun salutation, B, as we find our chair pose, knees over toes, hands overhead. Exhaling, taking it lower. Inhaling, rising on up. On the exhale, a big one dive over. Take your time. Inhaling, finding a lift of the chin and tail, maybe hands cap the knees, maybe not so high. On the exhale, traction yourself deeper into the forward fold. Now grounding down through the hands and making your way back to down dog as you will, either cycling through vinyasa or stretching straight back. So we're going to add on to the three-legged dog here as we start with some external hip rotation. Big toes touch, heels slightly apart, right leg high to the sky. Keeping that right shoulder just as it is, as best you can. Lifted leg straight as we stack the hips. Now bending that lifted leg, the weight of the lifted leg is going to open up that hip a little bit more. And then looking between the hands as you bring that right foot through, spinning the back heel down, arms up and over the head for your warrior one. And then riding the breath back to low lunge. Take your time as you spin that back heel up. And then back to down dog, as you will. And take your time. When you're ready, from down dog, big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Left leg high to the sky for the three-legged dog. High on the right toes, feel that stretch. Keeping left shoulder just as it is, lifted leg straight as we stack the hips. Now bending that leg, using the weight of the bent leg to open up that hip any amount. And then looking between the hands as you bring that left foot through, spinning the back heel down, arms up and over the head for your warrior one. Yeah, you want to spin that back heel down. It's going to be a little more stable. Yeah.
Oh,
It's all good.
I'm just trying to see in the camera.
And that's an interesting variation too. And then from our warrior one, spinning the palms out, finding your low lunge. Now we're going to spin that back heel up. And then back to down dog, as you will. You take your time. A lot of people keep the heel up, which is challenging, and feeling free to do that. But
it was not intentional.
Perhaps more challenging than most of us want.
Nope, it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, well, sometimes the unintentional stuff gives us good creativity as to other places we can go in these shapes. Wherever you are, always feeling free to stay there. From down dog, long smooth breath in. Long smooth breath out. Tail into that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly, lifting the tailbone a little higher, more space in that low back. And then mindful of your neck as you either step or take a jump to the front of your mat. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. On the exhale, folding again. Inhaling, moving towards that chair pose, knees over toes, hands overhead. Exhaling, taking it lower. On the inhale, rising on up. Little back bend at the top if it feels good. And then neutral spine. Let's bring hands back to heart as we come back to that internal focus, watching as our breath flows in and out. And then hands by your side. Before we do more external rotation of the hip, let's work those shoulders a little bit here. One of my favorite shoulder exercises, besides that one, is more of an asymmetrical action. As one shoulder comes front and then the other. Initially just letting it be about the shoulders, but then letting the upper back get involved. Maybe starting to turn the hips a little bit. Just really feeling the motion, just feeling how the various parts of the body connect. And then we can start to subtract the other parts of the body, so more stability in the hips. Now just the shoulders, subtracting the upper back. Now we'll take those asymmetrical shoulder rolls the other way, just starting small with the shoulders, and then very naturally letting the upper back get involved, very naturally letting the hips play. You might even soften those knees and let your knees play. Now starting to subtract parts here as we start to stabilize the knees, stabilizing the hips, just the shoulders as we subtract the upper back, and then back to center, shoulder blades back and down onto rib shelf. From here, let's work with our neck. So keeping that shoulder to rib shelf connection, so does the shoulders be heavy, let gravity do the work. As we lift the chin and lower the chin. As we work this exercise, I'll invite you to conceive of a tennis ball in front and a tennis ball in back. And rather than crunching that tennis ball, you're lengthening up and over that ball. As we find more length in the neck, not less. Let's do a couple more times each way. And the next time you lift the chin, I'll invite you to hold that stretch as we get a nice stretch in the base of the throat, fifth chakra. Now lengthening the chin up and over that tennis ball in front and holding that as we get a nice stretch in the back of the neck. Also fifth chakra. The chakras are three-dimensional. And then lifting the chin tall through the crown. Feel free to do this with me. Ears over shoulders. Ears and shoulders over hips. Ears, shoulders, hips over heels, hands by our side as we stand tall. And I'll invite you to do one more exercise, very subtle exercise here. Pretend your head is a balloon, your neck is the string, and that balloon's trying to break off that string as it flies up into the sky. Now one more subtle exercise here, visualization. Pretending you're a Christmas ornament, there's a string attached to the top of your head, and that ornament is hanging down from the tree as weight gathers in your feet. And then keeping all this, if you close the eyes, opening the eyes, and let's start to move towards our standing swan pose as hands find the hips. We're going to angle the right toes out just a tad, and people's hips have different shapes, so if just a tad is more than just a tad, go for it. If having toes more straight ahead feels good for your hip, go for it, but feel that place where you don't feel strain on the inside or the outside of the hip. Shifting the weight onto the right foot, we're going to let that left foot get light, just seeing what it's like to balance on one foot. You can always tap that toe down. And then when you feel like you've established that balance to the right foot, we can bend the right knee as you bring the ankle on top of the thigh. From here, steering the hips down at the same rate, like sitting in a chair. Hands can stay on the hips, or hands might find the heart. Hands either stay at heart, or we stretch those hands high. If the pose feels wobbly, keeping the shoulders relaxed, I'll invite you to ripple those fingers. High hands can come back to the heart. Hard hands can find the hips. Straightening the right leg without locking the knee. We're going to lift that left thigh high for the flamingo, a soft point to the toe. Either staying in the flamingo or keeping that thigh high as we lengthen through the leg. Again, soft point to the toe. Now lifting that thigh a little higher. Now flexing the foot as we sweep it on through for our Warrior One prep. So you might want to go sideways here, Kathy. So you have the mat. Not only the gription of the mat, but we've got a nice camera angle on you. So hands are on the hips, back foot and the back heel is down. With our hands on our hips, we can, you want to keep that back heel up? Or
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's all good.
I must not.
You're looking for some Achilles tendon stretch. I totally get it. I just want you to be solid. I want you to be solid and stable. You're near those windows.
Weird muscle memory going on today. I don't know.
Okay, so steering our hips front. Now we're going to stretch out our wrists. 4 fingers find the tip of a thumb. We're going to try to touch the front of our wrist, not to the shoulders yet. And you inspired me on this one as we circle our wrists for 1, 2, take your time. 3, we'll take it the other way. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to bring those bird beaks onto our shoulders to relax our shoulders and square our heart front. Now finding a clasp of the fingers behind the head, pressing the head into the hands, open heart and throat. So it doesn't have to be a hard push, but be the right push. As you and keep those shoulders relaxed. There's a little bit of engagement there, but it's not a insistent engagement. It's an invitation. And then keeping that openness in heart and throat chakra as you stretch those hands high to the sky. Awesome. From here, one of my favorite exercises is we move between a variation of this shape and cactus arms as we gather at the energy. On the exhale, spinning the palms out as we find cactus arms. And just really feel that stretch. Breathing in and breathing out. We're going to do 6. Breathing in and breathing out. 3 more to go. Breathing in and breathing out. Last 2. Breathing in and breathing out. Last 1. Breathing in, breathing out in, holding. I'll come on to camera here. I'll invite you to, without straining, you want to bring the elbows back, subtle level, wrists come with, and you might ripple those fingers. Nice. This is my favorite stretch. This is something you could do at your desk all day long, and I'm sure you do because you know this stretch, and it feels so good. From here, Let's move towards warrior three. Hands find the hips. As we take a big step in, now we're going to spin that back heel up. So spin the back heel up, now take the step in. Now we're going to play with shifting the weight onto that standing leg. There's no need to rush. That big toe can tap down, just finding your foundation first. Once you have that foundation, don't rush into it. You'll start to move towards extension through the legs, so lengthening through the legs. From here, hands either stay on hip or hands find the heart. Hands either stay at the heart, and we stretch those hands long in front, like you're holding a large glass ball. And then challenging your balance, if appropriate, as you lift the face to look through that ball. Make sure you don't strain the neck when you do that. Nice, beautiful. If the hands went front, they can come back to the heart. And now back to the hips. From here, let's land that foot lightly as we find our warrior one prep. So you're going to ground that back heel, unless you really want a strong balance challenge. And then from here, I'll invite you to come back to your warrior one, arms up and over the head. And from warrior one, I'll invite you to spin the palms out as you find your low lunge, spinning that back heel up, and then back to down dog, as you will. Deep full breaths. So we're going to stay on the same side, and now I want to do a supine swan pose. Prone swan pose, not a prone prawn pose. If being on your knee, the weight of your body on your knee is not appropriate, the modification is going to be you flip on your back and you find the supine swan pose, otherwise known as thread the needle. Otherwise, I'm going to cue Kathy through the prone swan pose. So big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Right leg high to the sky. High on the left toes. Feel that stretch in the Achilles tendon. Keeping the right shoulder just as it is, lifted leg straight as she stacks the hips. Now bending that top leg, opening up that hip, feel the stretch. And now you're going to bring that right knee towards the right wrist. Keep the knee joint closed. I teach a closed prone swan. And then walking that left foot back as you settle the hips at the same rate. Tail end of the stretch, unfurling the foot, tops of the toes are down to stabilize the shape, and you want everything in one line back there. From here, finding the tips of 10 fingers as you settle the shoulder blades, backing down. Not yet, really feel this action first. And you want to keep that, just like in the sun sails, leading with the heart as you find your forward fold. So you're lengthening the spine. Again, there's no need to rush on this one. Just feel the stretch. Feel those vertebrae unwinding. Like stretching a stretchy rope, and you're finding more space. And I'll say, go even stronger on the arms in terms of the extension. And then you can't go any more easily, letting the forehead heavy into the mat. As we hold the prone swan, I'll invite you to put your mind in hips. And when you stretch the hips away from the midpoint, they're not actually going to move, but you get a nice subtle stretch in the very center of yourself. And breathing into that stretch. Again, if it feels good to hold it in stillness, seeing when it rises, go for it. I usually like to add a little movement, maybe because I'm a wiggly person, but those wiggles, I think, help that alignment come through a little easier. Now we're going to move towards swan twist either way. So we're going to walk the hands back in. I'm going to invite you to find a perpendicular forearm on the long leg side of things. So it's that back leg. The other hand comes out to the side, staying on the tips of 10 fingers. You're going to pull back with that forearm as you turn your heart toward that outrigger hand, giving yourself the exact right amount of traction that's right for you. And again, if you need to wiggle to find the right shape, go for it. It's only on the cover of Yoga Journal that we're statues in space, we're real life persons otherwise, and there's lots of movement on lots of different levels. Now we're going to find that twist the other way, so we'll find the other perpendicular form, the other outrigger hand. And again, take your time to set the shape, and then as you traction yourself into the shape, giving yourself the exact right amount of traction that your low back wants. Not too much, not too little. Always in yoga, we're that middle bear. What's it called, the middle bear? You have the big bear, middle bear, and little bear. So you want to be middle bear. From here, the possibility, if you choose, to move towards the flying swan. As we walk the fingers back center, finding the tips of 10 fingers. You want to set those shoulder blades back and down. And we talk about the various chakras as the root chakra, which is the base of your pelvis. You want to draw root chakra up towards second chakra, which is somewhere between there and the navel. And you want to draw the navel up towards the sternum, so you're really lifting everything up to stabilize your base as you float those hands up to the sky. And you can definitely feel it. It's one of my favorite shapes to connect with those first 3 chakras. And again, you might lift your face to look through that large glass ball. Awesome. And you might circle your wrists. Whatever feels right and good. Awesome. That's such a beautiful pose. From here, we're going to spin the palms out. We're going to ground down. Initially, at least to the tips of 10 fingers, and then finding the palms. And then from that steady base, you're going to tuck the back toes. We're going to come back to a 3-legged dog with the knee joint closed. And then very carefully opening up. Yeah, if you want to do something with the hip, go for it. Awesome. I love that variation. And then when you're ready, stabilizing the hips and lengthening through the leg. Awesome. As you ground down through that foot. And then I'll suggest, at least initially, walking the dog, just stretching it out, luxuriating in your own physicality. And either keep doing this, or if you want to generate more tapas or heat, cycling through vinyasa, yogi's choice. Take your time. When we do a yoga flow practice, we don't always have to move at the speed of a tumbling stream. We can move at the flow of the mighty Mississippi on a slow day. Yeah, come back to that breath. From down dog, long smooth breath in. Long smooth breath out. Tail into that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly, tailbone a little higher, more space in the low back, and then looking between the hands as you step, or take that jump front. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. Hands can cap the knees or not. Lifting chin and tail, you want to find a little arc to the back, that's it. Now on the exhale, catching the back of the calves as we round the spine, really tucking the chin, feeling a nice stretch in the back of the neck. From here, moving towards a flat back, arms out to the side and then overhead. We forgot to sneak in the chair pose, so let's drop it into chair right now. Exhaling, holding it for a breath, taking it even lower. And you're pressing those palms together. Nice tricep work. That's good, good, good. And then on the inhale, rising on up, little back bend at the top. On the exhale, finding your neutral spine, bringing hands to heart, this time adding an isometric engagement as we press the palms together. Elbows wide to the side, a tuck of the tail, a tuck of the chin as we connect with the strength of our center. And then lifting the chin, tall through the crown. We've got a second side to do.
We do.
Yes, we do. Let's just take a little fun break before we get there. As hands find the hips, and we'll step or jump our feet hip width apart. One of my favorite exercises here. We'll inhale, arms up to one side. On the exhale, bending the knees as we pass the hands through center. Give those wrists a little flick, and the other side. And we'll do 6. Couple more each way. One more each side. And then back up. Either stepping or jumping it in. Thin like a pin. Hands find the hips as we shift weight onto left foot. And again, and we angle the toes out. Yeah, so the angling of the toes depends on the shape of your hip. Some people want a big angle. Some people want a small angle. Classically, toes face front, but I find that puts a binding action on the outside of my hip. So I want to move it out enough so I start to relax the outside of the hip while staying relaxed on the inside of the thigh. So you can kind of see and play with that a little bit. So finding a place between the two places so there's no tension on the outside, there's no tension on the inside. And that looks a little extreme. Oh, so I'm talking about the standing leg.
I know.
Yeah, so this action here, that's the standing leg, not the leg you're going to lift.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you're shifting, and I'm a little confused left and right.
Yeah.
So in terms of the angle, which leg are you going to stand on?
This one, right?
That one,
This was
yeah.
it,
Yeah, so you want to angle the toes out just a tad, yeah. Now you're going to shift weight onto that foot. You're going to lift that leg up. And we're going to bring the ankle on top of the thigh. Sitting down in your invisible chair, take your time. Both hips want to move down at the same rate. And that's great. I didn't cue it, but she's keeping that foot flexed, which is awesome, because that engages the muscles around her knee, supporting that connective tissue with that muscular engagement. From here, hands either stay on the hips or hands find the heart. Either keeping your heart hands or maybe stretching those hands high. And there's different places to look, down to the ground, very grounding, off to the horizon, or maybe up to the sky. And if that causes the pose to feel wobbly, try rippling those fingers. Action at the periphery stabilizes our center, maybe just because it takes our mind off the balance challenge. From here, we can bring hands back to the heart, and then hands come back to the hips. From here, straightening that left leg without locking the knees, we lift that right thigh high, soft point to the toe. First, let's find the flamingo first.
Left. Left thigh.
Left thigh high, but I just want to do the flamingo first.
Oh no, you said right thigh high. Lift the right thigh high.
Okay, so we're gonna lift, but start, I'm looking to start here first.
Oh.
So establishing that,
I see.
and then you wanna keep, where's my thigh in space? And now you go along through the leg.
I apologize.
That's all good, that's all good. Yeah. Nice. And again, I like the soft point to the toe. That gives your breath, diaphragm a little more room to work. Maybe lifting it higher, maybe not. Now flexing the foot, we'll sweep it on through as we find our warrior one. So you might want to go sideways, not just for a better camera angle, just so you have the full use of that yoga mat. In terms of the back foot, we ground down through the heel. I like about a 30-degree angle on my foot. So you might kick the foot in a little bit. Yeah, there you go. The most you'd ever want to go is 90 degrees on that back foot. But most people's knees like a turn in. From here, with our hands on our hips, we can steer our hips front. Now finding those bird beak fingers, 4 fingers find the tip of the thumb. Trying to touch the front of our wrists initially. And then we'll add those circles for 1, 2, and 3. We'll take those circles the other way. 1, 2, and 3. Now bringing those bird beaks onto our shoulders, relaxing our shoulders, and squaring our heart front. Now switching the clasp of the fingers, we're going to press the head into the hands, open heart and throat chakra. And again, it doesn't have to be a super powerful push, but just enough push to feel a nice openness in heart chakra, fourth chakra, and fifth chakra, throat chakra. A little lift of the chin there. Breathing into that space. From here, we're going to stretch those hands high to the sky, long through each side of the waist. And then we'll work that exercise as we move between a variation of this shape and cactus arms. So the palms spin back as you straighten the front leg without locking the knee. And then finding your cactus arms as you bring knee towards over heel. And then again, breathing in and breathing out. And breathing in and breathing out. Why don't you keep doing the exercise? And the most you ever want that knee to go is probably the base of the toes. You don't want to extend it too far past the toes, or past the toes at all. One more time, breathing in. Breathing out and holding, cactus arms. Elbows move back. The wrists come with. Feel free to ripple those fingers. Just luxuriating in this shape. Just feeling a stretch. From here, moving towards warrior 3. As hands find the hips, we can spin that back heel up as we take a big step in. Now, if you don't have enough room to work the arms in front, feel free to adjust yourself for the sake of our viewers and for the sake of your safety. Yeah. Now you're going to start to shift the weight onto this front foot as you float the back foot. You might take a shorter stance there, yeah. And just feel what it's like to balance on one foot forward. There's no need to rush into the shape. You might even tap that toe down a little bit just to give yourself the assurance that the floor is there. And now starting to move towards lengthening through both legs as you pitch the body forward. From here, a little subtle tip here, the hip of the lifted leg, the hips generally are squared down towards the floor, but you might lift that hip just a little bit so you don't sit so much in the hip of the standing leg. From here, we can bring hands to heart when you're ready. And then from here, when you're ready, lengthening through the arms as if you're holding a large glass ball and lifting the face to look through that ball. From here, let's bring hands back to the heart. Let's bring hands back to the hips. Landing that back foot lightly as we come back to our warrior 1 prep, so that back heel is down. Arms up and over the head. And from here, on an exhale, spinning the palms out as you find your low lunge, and from low lunge, back to down dog, as you will, and take your time. So again, I'm going to cue Kathy through the prone swan. If that's not for your knee, finding a supine swan, or the thread the needle pose as you flip out of your back. Otherwise, left foot high to the sky. High on the right toes, stretching out. That Achilles kind of. Get enough, yeah. And up on those toes, feel the stretch, beautiful. Oh, I love that little move. From here, keeping the left shoulder just as it is, stacking the hips, lifted leg straight. Now bending that leg, opening up that hip. Now we're going to bring that left knee to the left wrist, keeping the knee joint closed. I teach a closed prone swan here. Yeah, so bend, and you're going to bring it in, keeping the knee joint closed. And then we'll move towards the prone swan as you start to walk the right foot back, settling your hips at the same rate, no rush. And then when you can't go anymore, unfurling the back foot to stabilize the shape, and you want the foot right in line with the ankle, equal stress on both sides. From here, the tips of 10 fingers, as you settle the shoulder blades back and down. And no rush at all here. You want to keep a little essence of a back bend as you walk those hands forward, finding your prone swan with the arms in extension. So just take your time. Slow, 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 slow. You might think about laying your front spine down on the mat as if you're laying each front vertebrae down, as if you're laying pearls onto a cushion. When you can't bring the arms any more forward, just letting the forehead head into the mat. And that pressure of the brow, the forehead, the third eye, the sixth chakra, is an acupressure point that's going to relax the back of the neck, the shoulders, and the back of the head. So just feeling that area of softness in that place. One more subtle cue here, putting our mind in our hips and stretching the hips away from the midpoint as we find more space in the center of ourselves. And again, I love to wiggle in all these shapes, just kind of letting my body tell me what the right alignment is, as opposed to my will enforcing an alignment that I think I should be in. And then when I'm really working on a subtle level, those wiggles become very, very small until you couldn't tell them from stillness, but they're still there. From here, let's move towards swan twist. As we walk the hands back in, we're going to find a bent form on the long leg side of things, and that's going to be a perpendicular form. Outrigger hand, finding the tips of 5 fingers, but you want to bring it off to the side more. Yeah, there you go. Then you're going to pull back with that form as you turn your heart towards that hand, giving yourself the exact right amount of traction that's right and good for your low back. And just breathing into whatever sensation you're feeling, using your breath as an awareness, or as a vehicle for your awareness. Now let's find swan twist the other way as we find the other perpendicular form, the other outrigger hand. Again, take your time. And as you find your twist, maybe adding those little micro movements. I guess wiggle is derogatory. We were all told as kids not to wiggle, but kids wiggle because it's a very natural thing for us to do. Not anymore. Let the kids can wiggle as much as they want.
Yeah, we've been traumatized by that old teaching.
Yeah, for sure. And then we're going to move towards the signature pose for this morning's class, the flying swan, if appropriate for you. So you walk the hands in, the tips of 10 fingers. You want to settle those shoulder blades back and down. And then to fly the hands up, you're going to have to find that stability as you draw the energy up from first through second through third chakra. And then maybe lifting the face. If it feels good on your wrist, maybe adding little circles. Try to keep those shoulders relaxed though, yeah. Nice. And from the flying swan, when you're ready, spinning the palms out. Or, yeah, there's another stretch Kathy likes to do. She turns the fingers back. And then when you're ready to move on, grounding down through both palms, tucking the back toes, finding your 3-legged dog with a closed knee joint. And then very carefully opening up. Yeah, if you want to add that hip opener, awesome. fun to have a student that's very creative because it gives me lots of ideas on what to teach other people. And then when you're ready, grounding on down through that foot, I'll suggest luxuriating and walking the dog. And if you want to generate more tapas or heat, cycling through vinyasa. If you choose, you don't have to. And we're coming into our last 5 minutes here. And I want to have time to do a thread the needle for everyone, both sides. So I'm going to ask you, why don't you start with a child's pose. Land the knees lightly. Sits bones back to the heels, just nestling your belly. Oh, you do it. So Kathy's working a child's pose with closed knees, which is interesting. It's a little harder to breathe. But also an interesting variation. Okay, now she's opened the knees for the more classic version.
I don't know what
So-
I'm doing here. Sorry, everybody.
Well, I mean, my next cue makes no sense with the closed knees. Having said that, the closed knees child's pose is it's a viable shape, and it's just an interesting, it's a way to kind of challenge people's breath. But anyway, with the open knees, you can nestle the belly inside the thighs and just feel that nice massage. As your inner thighs massage your belly, as your belly massages your thighs. From here, let's walk the hands in, and I'll cue you to flip over on your back. If you did want to do that through a long, slow roll down, go for it. So you'd find 2 long legs, and I'm going to suggest you go sideways here. And we're going to do a thread the needle both ways. So
Sit in my bottom.
sit in your bottom, 2 long legs in front. Having said that, if you just want to flop onto your back, go for it. Otherwise, we'll work a long, slow roll down here. So starting from tall spine, there it is. Yeah, establish that. Now find C-spine and roll yourself down. Slow, 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 slow. Awesome. Yeah, look at that core engagement. Staying grounded through the heels. Awesome. Before we get there, full body stretch, arms over by the ears. I want to keep the ribs soft and drawing in. And then sweeping hands by your hips as you walk the feet in. We're going to bring right ankle on top of left thigh. The foot's going to be flexed. And then we're going to draw the knee, the foot that's on the floor in towards the heart as we thread the needle, catching the thigh or the shin. Yeah, you want to keep the back of the head down if you can, at least in this version, just to keep the neck and shoulders more relaxed. As we hold the shape, I'll invite you to gently rock it from side to side. And then coming back center. And then releasing the thigh or the shin as we ground down through the foot. Yeah, ground the foot first if you can. Yeah, so like this. I like this sequencing. So here, I release, I ground the foot, this top foot stays flexed. Now I ground down through 2 feet, breathing into the back. And now I'm going to bring the other foot on top of the other thigh, the foot is flexed. I draw the knees in, and then I thread the needle as I slip everything through. Yeah. Back of the head is down. And then gently rocking the shape from side to side. Now bringing the shape back center. We're going to unthread the needle first. Keep the legs in that same shape. So going down through that, before you lower the foot though, you want to feel the hands on the ground, a little bit of core engagement here. Now you're going to ground down through that foot. This foot stays flexed as it comes on off. Ground it down through 2 feet, just relax for a sec. And then finding your Shavasana. As you lengthen through the legs, spinning the palms up as you flatten the shoulders, scooting the head back for a little more space in the upper back. Doing whatever else feels right and good for you this morning. And we won't be here too long. Having said that, at home, feel free to stay here as long as you'd like. I'm going to ring these yoga bells 3 times. Moving your mind before you move your body. Bring your attention back to your breath, watching as it flows in and out. Like watching waves at the ocean as the waves wash in and as the waves recede out. Now shaping your breath with a long, slow inhalation, followed by a longer, slower exhalation. Letting any lingering tension out with those longer, slower out breaths. Now inviting more prana, more life force into your body as you gently ripple fingers and toes. Now circling wrists and ankles as we draw that prana in towards center. Adding a little shimmy of the shoulders, a little shake of the hips. Again, just connecting with your own innate sense of your own well-being, what feels right and good for you. Now moving towards Apanasana as we draw one knee in and then the other, the back of the head stays down. Hands catch the shins. And using your thighs to massage your belly, that could be front to back, side to side, little circles. Again, just connecting what's right and good for you, right here, right now. From here, I'll invite you to stretch long through an arm, rolling onto your side, letting that arm serve as a cushion for your head, sharing a long, slow breath here. I'll invite you to let that breath sigh out through your mouth, softening your shoulders, relaxing your jaw. And then keeping everything soft. As you push into your hands to claim a cross-legged sit, take your time. As we sit grounded down through our sits bones, I'll invite you to bring the heels of your hands to your thighs, pushing those thighs away as we settle the shoulders and sit up a little straighter, a little taller. Without shortening the neck, a slight tuck of the chin. 5 fingers of one hand find the ground. The palm of the other hand faces the sky. We can rest that on the top of our thigh. Ending our practice as we started, just watching as our breath flows in and as our breath flows out. From this place of breath awareness, I invite you to bring your hands to your heart and bow as you thank yourself for practicing yoga and as we offer our practice out to each other and to the world. The light within me honors and respects the light within you. And in this light, we are one. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank everybody for practicing with us. Thank you, Kathy, for practicing with me. And we're here most Wednesdays mornings, so please join us. And if you have a suggestion as to a class of poses or something you'd like to explore, throw it in the comments. It's a super cool way to communicate. So we'll see you real soon.
Bye.
Bye.